0 Weng. As soon as Yan Jin's voice faded, Xiao Yan felt as if a dull thunder had exploded in his head, and his body trembled violently. Purple Qi? What purple Qi? Xiao Yan grabbed Yan Jin's sleeve and roared. His eyes had turned red, and he had lost his calm. Yan Jin's heart trembled when he saw Xiao Yan's fury. Although he had expected Xiao Yan to be angry, he had never thought that the latter's fury would cause him to tremble in fear. Xiao Yan, we entered that mysterious passageway with Xiao in Fighting Qi Continent. We flew safely for a long time. When we were not far away from the Transformation Emperor sect, we hesitated and didn't dare to step into that passageway when we knew that we were going to scatter all the combat qi in our bodies. Lei Ying hastily spoke and told them everything that had happened. At that time, we were all very tired. Xiao suggested to rest up and go in to rest. A cloud of purple gas suddenly appeared, but we didn't notice it. Only Xiao felt it. After that, before we could react, the purple qi suddenly came and swallowed Xiao. Then the purple qi and Xiao disappeared. Lei Ying tried his best to explain. He looked at Xiao Yan from time to time. His heart was filled with bitterness and endless confusion. How could he feel an unnatural sense of depression when facing Xiao Yan? Phew. After listening to Lei Ying's explanation, Xiao Yan took a deep breath and let go of Yan Jin's sleeve. He forced himself to calm down and stood there silently. At the door, Xiao Ling looked curiously at Xiao Yan's sudden fury. Although she was confused, she didn't think too much about it. She only thought that it was related to the matter in the lower realm, and the matter in Fighting Qi Continent had nothing to do with her. Xiao Ling paused for a moment before quickly leaving. She still had to report to the Great Elder that Xiao Yan had arrived safely, even though the latter might have already known about it by now. Xiao Yan, are you all right? She saw that Xiao Yan did not speak for a long time. Given the dealings they had with Xiao Yan in Fighting Qi Continent, it seemed like this guy was just a little kid compared to them. However, the depth of his mind was unfathomable. How is teacher? After a while, Xiao Yan's voice was hoarse, and he asked with a calm expression. The strength of an alchemist grandmaster is already extraordinary. There is no one on the continent who can surpass him in terms of alchemy. However, in recent years, the alchemist grandmaster has been focusing on teaching the younger generation about alchemy. The growth of his strength is extremely slow. He has merely reached the level of a 6-star Do Sheng. Yan Jin hurriedly spoke when he saw that Xiao Yan did not mention Xiao again. If he had known that Xiao Yan would ask Yao Lao, he would have already prepared what to say before he came. 6-star Do Sheng huh? Teacher is still the same. Pill refinement is indeed his life's favorite. Xiao Yan nodded when he heard this. The corner of his mouth curled into a smile. Yao Lao's kind smile appeared in front of his eyes. Where are the others? Walking to a stone bench and sitting down, Xiao Yan leisurely said. He thought of his father, Xiao Zong's 2 brothers, as well as the fairy doctor, Yun, Zi Yan, Ya Fei and the others. They are all very good. Right now, the Xiao clan is the #1 clan in the continent. Now that you have appeared, Xiao and her 2 fighting monarch have extremely rich bloodline power. I reckon that even the foundation of the Jiyu clan is not as strong as the current Xiao clan. Lei Ying stepped forward and let out a long sigh as he smiled. The Xiao clan, who was once one of the 8 families, had once again returned to its peak position, becoming the center of attention of the continent. The Jiyu clan and the Xiao clan are already one family, so how can they be considered strong or weak? Xiao Yan smiled. The Jiyu clan had given birth to Jiyu Yuan and Xuan 2 fighting monarch. The strength of the family had also reached an unprecedented level. It could be said that the current Fighting Qi continent. These 2 families were the colossi that ruled over the entire continent. However, currently, the Yan clan and the Lei clan had also given birth to a fighting monarch. How would the structure of the continent be like in the future? No one could say for sure. How is the ancient Void Dragon clan doing? That little girl Zi Yan's talent is shocking. Her strength should have made great progress. Xiao Yan once again inquired when he saw the 2 of them. He was not too surprised that Yan Jin and Lei Ying had become fighting monarchs. After all, these 2 were experts who were second only to Jiyu Yuan back in Fighting Qi continent. They stood at the peak of the Do Sheng class. It was only natural for them to advance to the fighting monarch after having sufficient fighting monarchs over the years. Yan Jin involuntarily laughed bitterly when he heard this. He shook his head and said, "That little girl was originally not interested in the matters within the clan. Ever since you left, you threw all the matters of the ancient Void Dragon clan to that old thing, Huo Zhu. You stayed in the Sky Mansion Alliance every day and fooled the little fairy doctor. Why would Qing Lin, these experts from the Sky Mansion Alliance, have the mood to train when they go out to play? This fellow really does not let one worry." Xiao Yan patted his head and could only smile helplessly. If Zhu Kun knew that this cute daughter that he had been looking forward to coming to the great world was like this, he would probably be depressed to death. Now that Xiao Lin has grown up, he has started to learn how to manage the Abundance Land Alliance. With Xiao Chen, the medicine master, and the support of many other experts, he will definitely become the strongest expert in the Fighting Qi continent in the future. Lei Ying sat down next to Yan Jin and said, "With the help of teacher and the others, Lin Er's future achievements will also be limitless." When he heard the news of Desolate Lin, Xiao Yan smiled knowingly, and a trace of fatherly love surged into his eyes. When he thought of Xiao Lin, Xiao Yan once again thought of Xiao Xiao. He pursed his lips. He pursed his lips and slammed his fist onto the stone table. Yan Jin and Lei Ying were both startled. Xiao Xiao's matter has nothing to do with you guys. There is no need to blame yourself. That mysterious spatial zone is indeed mysterious and unpredictable. However, since Xiao Xiao sensed the purple qi at the first moment, there is a high chance that there is a connection between Xiao Xiao and the purple qi. Although I don't know the reason. Xiao Yan could only use this guess to comfort himself and Yan Jin and Lei Ying. He could clearly feel the guilt between the two of them. Xiao Xiao will be fine. After hearing Xiao Yan's words, both of them heaved a sigh of relief in their hearts and said in a deep voice. After that, Xiao Yan asked about many things in Fighting Qi continent. The two of them spoke one by one. With their identities, naturally, they knew all the secrets of the Fighting Qi continent, and they didn't hide anything from him. The changes that had occurred in the Fighting Qi continent over the past few decades had somewhat exceeded Xiao Yan's expectations. However, all his family members were safe and sound, which was also a very good news for Xiao Yan. By the way, Xiao Yan, what's going on with the Xiao clan in this big world? Why are we brought here as soon as we came out of the Transformation Emperor Gate? After saying that, Yan Jin suddenly looked at Xiao Yan and spoke in a deep voice. When he and Lei Ying were forcefully brought here by the people of the Xiao clan in the new sovereign domain, he was trembling with fear. The strength that they were proud of in Fighting Qi continent was actually useless here. You are also in the Xiao clan. Is there any connection between the Xiao clan here and the Xiao clan in Fighting Qi continent? Lei Ying took over Yan Jin's words and said impatiently. This. Xiao Yan let out a sigh. He didn't try to hide anything from the two of them. He told them about the relationship between the Xiao clan and the Xiao clan of Fighting Qi continent. Even though the two of them were used to seeing all kinds of things, they were still stunned after hearing Xiao Yan's explanation. What you said is true? After Xiao Yan finished speaking, the two of them looked at each other, then looked at Xiao Yan in disbelief. This kind of thing was truly unbelievable. Xiao Yan nodded with a solemn expression. When he first heard this news, his expression was as surprised as the two of them. This. Yan Jin and Lei Ying both sucked in a breath of cold air. For a moment, they felt dizzy and speechless. Looking at their shocked expressions, Xiao Yan didn't say anything. He just smiled bitterly, but his eyes were filled with complicated emotions. He was still worried that Xiao Xiao would go there. 2 inches, where are you going next? After regaining his senses, Xiao Yan looked at Yan Jin and asked tentatively. With this little strength, how can we go there? Lei Ying and I have already thought about it. We will find a sect to join after we go out. Once we have a certain amount of strength, we will come out and explore the world. Yan Jin shook his head and said in a helpless tone. They also knew the classification of realms in the big world. In the Fighting Qi continent, the Fighting Monarch was considered one of the top existences. They had actually become the lowest kind of people in this place. This was a huge contrast. At first, the two of them found it hard to accept. Fortunately, both of them were the leaders of the same clan. Their temperament far exceeded ordinary people, and in the end, they accepted this cruel reality. Why don't join the academy? The sect is the same as the academy. It's a place to increase one's strength. Furthermore, where is Zhu Kun and my father? If you two go, you can also take care of each other. Xiao Yan smiled and looked at the two of them. He couldn't help but laugh in his heart. Most of the people who joined the Yunluo Academy were young men. Although their constitution had been purified by the origin monarch Qi once, they looked much younger than before. When they were in the fighting Qi continent, they had used the secret arts to nurture their youth, making them look even younger now. However, in their hearts, they were still old monsters who had lived for more than 1,000 years. They didn't know if they could adapt to the life in the academy. Ji Yuan and Zhu Kun, both of their eyes lit up when they heard this. They pondered for a moment before agreeing emotionally. Creak. Just as the three of them were talking, the door of the courtyard was opened once again. Xiaoling gently walked in and looked at Xiao Yan with her beautiful eyes. Her voice was hollow as she said, "Xiao Yan, the Great Elder wants you to go over." Xiao Yan nodded when he heard her. He got up and said goodbye to Yan Jin and Lei Ying before following Xiaoling out of the courtyard. The two of them stood up from the stone bench and watched Xiao Yan and Xiaoling leave. Yan Jin suddenly let out a long sigh and slowly said, "Can you sense Xiao Yan's current strength?" Difficult. Lei Ying did not think about it when he heard that and directly shook his head. In his senses, Xiao Yan's strength was as deep and powerful as a mountain. His tiny bit of strength was like a star in the universe, nothing in front of him. I never thought that there would be so many realms above the fighting monarch. After working hard for my entire life, if I want to reach that supreme level, in the end, I still have to start from the lowest level. I can't accept it. Yan Jin let out a long sigh. He looked at the sky, and his eyes were filled with confusion. I am a little interested in what Xiao Yan said. The Xiao clan has such a powerful force in the great world. I wonder where the ancestors of the Lei clan are. When I have the strength, I will go and see for myself. Lei Ying crossed his arms across his chest and spoke in a heroic manner. After following Xiao Ling, they arrived at a remote mansion in Xiao City in just a short period of time. Although it was remote, it did not lose its graceful and grand atmosphere. Along the way, they relied on their sharp soul energy. Xiao Yan was able to clearly sense many hidden and obscure gazes sweeping past him, and he raised his head to look. However, he couldn't see a single person. He had to admit that. The security work of Xiao clan was indeed flawless. The Great Elder is inside. He has been waiting for you for a long time. Xiaoling's beautiful eyes were smiling as she brought Xiao Yan into the mansion. In the huge courtyard, there were small bridges and flowing water. There were pavilions and pavilions all over the place. The flowing water was gurgling and the flowers were blooming. Giant trees covered the entire courtyard in a shade of green. It was like a courtyard in the mortal world, filled with a unique beauty. After sending Xiao Yan in, Xiaoling curled her lips and left. The Great Elder had prohibited her from entering, which made her extremely annoyed. As soon as they entered the mansion, Xiao Yan saw a young man who was fishing by a lake not far away. The young man's back looked familiar. "Grandpa, brother, Xiao Yan is here." As Xiaoling walked, an ethereal voice sounded throughout the courtyard. "I saw him a long time ago." As Xiaoling's voice faded, a clear laughter was heard from the sky. After that, the Great Elder of Xiao clan leisurely descended from a huge tree. Xiao Yan squinted his eyes and looked over. On top of the huge tree, there was actually a large bamboo chair on top of the tree. This Great Elder really knew how to enjoy himself. "Great Elder, your leisure is truly enviable." The former had safely brought Yan Jin and Lei Ying to Xiao clan. Based on this point, Xiao Yan wouldn't be as reckless as before. He said with a smile, "What kind of leisure is this? It can't be compared to you two." The Great Elder was still as talkative as before. He was hale and hearty. He waved his hand and said with a smile, "I asked you to come this time. First, your two companions have come. Secondly, it's the 4 Academies competition." The Great Elder narrowed his eyes. His gaze was deep. "The Sacred Magazine has told me the result of the 4 Academies competition, but you have to tell me the details of the competition." According to the report of the sect elders of the Xiao clan, this competition is very unusual. Xiao Yan nodded. He didn't try to hide anything from them. He told them everything about Yuv Mu, including the Dharma idol of the Domain Lord that he had seen in the Forbidden Area. He only told them about the descending of stars. Yuv Mu, I never thought that this guy would come out in this competition. After listening to Xiao Yan's story, the Great Elder's facial expression changed. He gritted his teeth and said, "There were 9 disciples of the Soul Demon, and every single one of them was a ferocious person. Only God knew what he would do if he let this guy escape this time. However, your performance is indeed not bad. You actually defeated Kang Feng with just the strength of a monarch emperor. I also know that Kang Feng is the young master of the Kang family. His status is much higher than Xiao Yi's. The great elder changed the topic and smiled with relief. After that, he looked at the young man who was fishing quietly by the lake. Crack. As he spoke, the young man in the distance put away his fishing rod and slowly got up. Then, he turned around and walked over with a lowered gaze. If it wasn't for the Monarch Flame Rebellion, he would have been able to participate in the 4 Academies competition with all of you. Now, it seems like there is no hope anymore. The great elder smiled helplessly and shrugged his shoulders. Xiao Yan only gave a noncommittal smile. Xiao Yi's performance in the academy was still vivid in his mind. Whether it was him or Zhu Tianwo, that unscrupulous attitude made Xiao Yan feel disgusted. Grandpa, I want to talk to Xiao Yan in private. Xiao Yi walked forward and looked at the great elder with an expressionless face. Looking at Xiao Yan and Xiao Yi, the great elder gently stroked his beard and nodded his head. Then, he took a slight step forward. His body had already disappeared from where he stood. What is it? Facing Xiao Yi alone, Xiao Yan did not need to pretend to be happy. He crossed his arms over his chest and said faintly, "Nothing, I just want to say thank you." Xiao Yi looked at Xiao Yan with a calm gaze. "Thank me? Why?" Xiao Yan was stunned and asked curiously. "You are the final victor of the 4 Academies competition. Because of you, the reputation of the Xiao clan has been spread. In the entire star domain, many major powers have already known that there is an outstanding disciple of the Xiao clan who will represent the Yunluo Academy and defeat the most outstanding descendant of the Kang family, Kang Feng." As he spoke, Xiao Yi's face twitched slightly. A trace of unwillingness flashed across his eyes, but in the end, he still smiled indifferently. "Xiao clan? Are you kidding me? When did I become a member of the Xiao clan in the Great World?" Xiao Yan raised his eyebrows. Back then, under the great elder's persuasion, he had admitted the relationship between the Xiao clan of Fighting Qi Continent and the Xiao clan of Great World, but this didn't mean that he was a disciple of the Xiao clan of Great World. You can say whatever you want. In any case, the influence of the Xiao clan has been raised by many major powers. Xiao Yi didn't explain further when he heard this. His voice was flat. There are 4 major families in the Starfield. The Xiao clan's status is in imminent danger. The Thundercloud clan is constantly thinking of replacing them. I have entered the Yunluo Academy and have been cultivating day and night. I want to crush all the gossip in the 4 Academies competition so that no one will look down on the Xiao clan anymore." Xiao Yi said, his facial expression suddenly became ferocious. He roared, "In order to not let everyone look down on me, I will try my best to increase my strength. But I really can't catch up with Yu Yang and Lin Dao's strength." Finally, he noticed Zhu Tianwo. If he could obtain Zhu Tianwo's physique. If I absorb the monarch flame in my clan, my strength will definitely soar. He might even be able to break through to the emperor cultivation. At that time, he would definitely be able to defeat everyone in the 4 Academies competition. Xiao Yi took a deep breath and said, "But the monarch flame in the family rebelled in advance. I can't do anything about it." Xiao Yan quietly listened to Xiao Yi's words. He looked at the latter coldly. It was a long while later before he sighed. He felt some sympathy for Xiao Yi for a moment. "1 inch I know. In your hearts, I am a villain, but I don't care. As long as the Xiao clan isn't looked down upon by others, I don't care what you think of me." Xiao Yi gritted his teeth. His voice was low and deep, and his roar echoed in Xiao Yan's ears. "The monarch flame in my family suddenly erupted. Although I tried my best to devour it after I returned, I was still struck by the backlash and almost died. I missed the 4 Academies competition." After saying that, Xiao Yi's voice suddenly lowered, as if he was talking about something that had nothing to do with him. "Even if you can devour the heavenly flame of the Golden Emperor and replace me or Zhu Tianwo in the 4 Academies competition, the one who will win in the end will definitely not be you." Xiao Yan shook his head slightly and suddenly felt some sympathy for Xiao Yi. Xiao Yi was willing to give up everything for the sake of his family, but unfortunately, the heavens didn't fulfill his wish. Although he still felt that this guy was somewhat detestable. "Why? I'm now a monarch emperor, and after absorbing the Golden Emperor Phoenix Heavenly Flame, I can even break through to the emperor cultivation. Even Kang Feng has the strength of an emperor cultivation. I have the monarch flame. He is no match for me. When Xiao Yi heard this, he suddenly turned around and stared at Xiao Yan. I don't mind telling you. Kang Feng has been possessed by Yu Mu, and his strength is beyond imagination. With just one strike, Mu Yuyang, Lin Dao, and Zhou Buyu were seriously injured. With my own strength, I'm no match for him. Xiao Yan lowered his eyebrows and said slowly, regarding the soul demon, you should have some understanding about it. In order to deal with them, ordinary attacks are useless unless they are sealed. Xiao Yan pursed his lips and did not say anything else. Hearing this, the bright light in Xiao Yi's eyes instantly disappeared. His face trembled slightly. Finally, he helplessly sighed and shook his head. He walked to the stone bench not far away and sat down without saying anything. Forget it. No matter what, because of this incident, Xiao Clan's reputation has reappeared in the ears of many major powers. It's enough. After a long period of silence, Xiao Yi suddenly smiled. The gloominess between his brows had faded, and he had returned to his free and unrestrained self. Xiao Yan crossed his arms over his chest and remained silent. He was too lazy to explain to outsiders about what Xiao Yi had forced him to do. When are you going to the academy? Xiao Yi narrowed his eyes and suddenly asked. I'm leaving immediately. I'm going to take those two friends to the Yunluo Academy. I can't let Xuan Kai Lin, and Kai Lin wait for too long. Xiao Yan put down his hand, patted the dust off his clothes, and said casually. Let's go in a few days. Your two friends have a good foundation. They can use some of the resources of the Xiao clan to make them wait. In this way, it will be more convenient for them to go to the academy when their strength increases. Xiao Yi stood up and looked at Xiao Yan. He said calmly, besides, the Xiao clan also has many secret techniques. If you want them, I can help you get them. Take it as a reward for making the Xiao clan famous. Is this the great elder's intention? Xiao Yan smiled, not surprised at all. I guess so. Xiao Yi smiled faintly and said vaguely. Sorry to bother you, then. Hearing this, Xiao Yan did not refuse. No matter how strong Xiao Yan's mental strength was, he would not be able to make it to the Xiao clan. He needed a good rest. Moreover, if Yan Jin and Lei Ying could advance to the sovereign realm, they would be able to travel much faster. After saying this, Xiao Yan sighed with emotion in his heart. Thinking back to the time when he had risked his life to advance to the sovereign realm, he had risked his life in the forest domain. After going through so much hardship, he had risked his life to obtain a medicine pill from that old thing, Zhao Qingshan. He had almost gotten himself killed by him, but these two. In just a month's time, Xiao Yi had actually guaranteed that they would advance to the sovereign realm. Such treatment made Xiao Yan smile bitterly. Mu Yuyang and the rest have left. Now that we think about it, our generation has ended. According to normal logic, the next 10 people in Realm and Valley should be Mu Yiyue, Wu Shaoqi and the rest. As for you, you should start climbing the soaring dragon ranking in the inner academy. Who would have thought that everything would be in chaos? After listening to Xiao Yan's narration, Xiao Yi smiled and spoke with some emotion. Wu Shaoqi, who should have become an expert in Realm and Valley with Mu Yiyue, already possessed the strength of a monarch emperor. The even more frightening one was Xiao Yan. This fellow, who had just entered the academy a few years ago, already possessed the strength that was comparable to Mu Yuyang and had met the requirements to graduate. This world changes too quickly. If I don't increase my strength as soon as possible, how can I protect myself? Xiao Yan was expressionless as he thought of the soul demon. He knew what Xiao Yan was thinking. Xiao Yi nodded gently and did not say anything else. He arranged a spacious room for Xiao Yan before quietly leaving. Lying on the comfortable bed, Xiao Yan was silent. After a long while, he suddenly sat up. With a flip of his palm, a book flickering with stars appeared in his palm. It was the Holy Arts, Starlight Silent Step that he had obtained from Old Man Chang. Regarding this Holy Arts, Xiao Yan had never had the time to cultivate it. The difficulty of cultivating a single Holy Arts was much harder than he had imagined. It was purely a coincidence that he had successfully cultivated the heavenly monarch fire-burning body. If it wasn't for the fact that he had the monarch flame, he would have been recognized by the skill spirit of the heavenly monarch fire-burning body. It was impossible for him to cultivate this secret technique, the Holy Arts. After hesitating for a moment, Xiao Yan gritted his teeth and immersed his mind into the Book of Stars in his hand. As soon as his mind touched the book, Xiao Yan's vision darkened. It was as if he had been swallowed by a bottomless black hole. Xiao Yan, who was sitting cross-legged on the bed, suddenly stiffened and fell straight down. His eyes were lifeless, as if his soul had left his body. The book of stars in his hand suddenly floated up in a strange manner at this moment. It flickered with a magnificent starlight in midair. In an instant, the entire room was filled with starlight, like a sea of stars, exceptionally gorgeous. This was a dark space. It was as if the heaven and earth were connected together. It was chaotic, and there was not a trace of it. Wah! Suddenly, a ray of light appeared in this endless space. The moment the light appeared, countless stars appeared in the sky. In almost a moment, the starlight that filled the sky shone down, illuminating the dark and misty land. Endless starlight overflowed in all directions, as though it was daytime. This is the space where the arcane spirit is located. This ray of light was exactly the appearance of Xiao Yan. As he floated in the empty space, he looked at the starlight that filled the sky and muttered to himself. In order to master the holy arts, he had to capture the skill spirit and refine it. Only then would he be able to fully master it. Such a big place, I have to go there and find the skill spirit. Xiao Yan smiled bitterly and slowly landed on the ground. No wonder even ordinary monarch cultivation warriors couldn't master the holy arts. It was like searching for a needle in a haystack to find the skill spirit in such a vast space. If the skill spirit really wanted to hide, even monarch cultivation warriors wouldn't be able to do anything about it. Swoosh! Xiao Yan closed his eyes. Soul energy surged out from between his eyebrows like a tsunami. The existence of consciousness in the arcane space had only one advantage, and that was that one's physical strength would never be exhausted. As long as the consciousness did not collapse, one would not die in the arcane space. However, according to the records of all kinds of books, some emperor cultivation warriors' consciousness had entered the saint-grade monarch skill. They were trapped by the arcane spirits and couldn't come out. In the end, their consciousness collapsed and died. Wang! Soul power swept across the horizon, and endless layers of starlight shot down, causing the entire space to seem like day, with not even a trace of darkness to be able to hide. Suddenly, Xiao Yan's brows twitched, and he felt a cold sensation on his neck. In that instant, it was as if something had disappeared in a flash. One shoo! Before Xiao Yan could recover his senses, another gentle breeze swept past. It was as though it had cut through space, and it brushed past Xiao Yan's shoulder. Skill spirit! Xiao Yan suddenly recovered his senses. Cold sweat immediately flowed down his back. This guy was so fast that he couldn't even see the former's movements clearly. Hee. Suddenly, a light laugh sounded beside Xiao Yan's ear. Xiao Yan turned his eyes and stretched out his arm like lightning, hitting the direction where the laughter came from. Haha, I can't catch it. The attack missed. The laughter rang out once again, as if it came from all directions of Xiao Yan, causing people to be at a loss for what to do. Seeing this, Xiao Yan took a deep breath and pondered for a while. He stopped attacking and just stood there quietly. After a while, the owner of the laughter couldn't help but laugh when he saw that Xiao Yan didn't attack. The space in front of him trembled slightly, and a petite figure appeared in front of Xiao Yan. The child floating in front of Xiao Yan was only the length of Xiao Yan's arm, and he had short silver hair. It was as if there were stars flickering in the sky, and his face was fair and clean. There was an innocent smile on his chubby face, and his big eyes were blinking. There was a bright light in his big eyes, and he looked harmless. Xiao Yan looked at the silver-haired boy, who was right in front of him, and resisted the urge to grab him. As an arcane spirit of the holy arts, most of them had mysterious and unpredictable abilities. If he forcefully attacked, Xiao Yan really did not have the confidence to catch him. Let's continue playing. The little boy blinked his large and intelligent eyes, and a playful smile appeared on his face. As he spoke, he gently waved his little hand, as if he was holding on to thousands of starlight. In an instant, endless starlight rippled from his hand, like waves and flowing water. The starlight that filled the sky all obeyed the former's command. All right. The corner of Xiao Yan's mouth was lifted into a smile. His expression was slightly grave. Immediately, without the slightest hesitation, origin qis flowed around his body. In the next moment, a vigorous origin qi completely wrapped around his body. A large white tiger had already appeared behind him. White tiger arts, white tiger spirit sealing flash. The white tiger behind him roared towards the sky. Xiao Yan's body suddenly rushed towards the little boy. He turned into a white light and arrived in front of the little boy in an instant. A glint flashed across the eyes of the silver-haired little boy when he saw Xiao Yan's sudden increase in speed. A joyous smile was revealed on his fair little face. He laughed. He did not see any movement from the latter. His body trembled slightly and he disappeared from where he was. Kai, Xiao Yan was like a ferocious tiger that had descended the mountain. He violently shattered the space in front of him, but he did not even touch the silver-haired little boy. The white light dissipated and Xiao Yan's figure appeared. Seeing the empty space, he frowned slightly and sighed silently. As expected of the Starlight Silent Steps arcane spirit, this speed was not something he could keep up with. Your speed is so slow. While Xiao Yan was deep in thought, an ethereal voice sounded behind him with a hint of ridicule. Xiao Yan turned around and saw the silver-haired boy waving his body in the air not far away, making a funny face at Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan, his speed is too fast. You can't catch up to him at all. Just as Xiao Yan was silent, the Xiao's voice suddenly sounded in his mind. I know. Xiao Yan let out a light sigh. In the face of this absolute speed suppression, there was nothing he could do. Even his soul power could not lock onto this arcane spirit. I have an idea. Since I can't catch him, I'll trap him. The Xiao chuckled and said proudly. Really? Xiao Yan was stunned for a moment, then he secretly rejoiced in his heart. It's just an arcane spirit of the holy arts. Its intelligence is not much higher than a human child's. It's not like it's an arcane spirit of the sacred art. Look at me. The Xiao patted his chest confidently and chuckled like a stomach full of evil water. Wah! According to the method described by the Xiao Yi appeared on Xiao Yan's shoulder. His small hand moved continuously and in an instant, he threw out hundreds to thousands of different colored fire lotuses. When the silver-haired boy saw this, he only curled his lips. He did not care about the power of these fire lotuses at all. With a slight movement of his body, he dodged all of the fire lotuses safely. Thousands of fire lotuses whistled by his ear, but none of them touched the former's body. With a cool turn of his body, the final fire lotus flashed past. The silver-haired little boy chuckled at Xiao Yan, as though he was flaunting his strength. Xiao Yan lowered his eyebrows and the origin chi around his body surged. He turned into a white tiger and charged at the boy once again. Seeing Xiao Yan's attack, the latter seemed to be too lazy to dodge. He waved his hand and endless starlight suddenly spread down. It turned into a shield of starlight and steadily blocked Xiao Yan's attack. Crack! The sharp attack violently struck the shield of starlight. However, only a few rays of starlight were spluttered out. Xiao Yan's charging figure could only stop and carefully look at the starlight shield in front of him. A trace of surprise flashed across his eyes. This level of defense. It was comparable to the first style of his profound martial arts, and this was only a casual attack from this arcane spirit. Taking a deep breath, Xiao Yan no longer hesitated. He moved his 10 fingers. In an instant, origin chi surged around his body. Accompanied by the whistling sound of space, a nearly solid white tiger had already slowly solidified behind him. Third form of the white tiger arts, white tiger spiritual spell. Xiao Yan's expression was grave. He faced the sky and let out a long roar. The white tiger behind him also let out a furious roar, revealing its ferocious fangs. The tiger's palm ruthlessly smashed down, directly shattering the starlight shield in front of him. When the silver-haired boy saw this, he was slightly taken aback. Immediately, his expression revealed a trace of interest and joy. He beckoned with his little hand, and once again, endless starlight gathered in front of him, instantly forming another starlight shield. When Xiao Yan saw this, there was nothing he could do. His entire body was in the middle of the white tiger, and the origin chi was surging. The white tiger roared furiously, and shattered the starlight shield once again. After shattering the 2 starlight shields, the light on the white tiger's body became much dimmer, as if it had suffered a heavy blow. It was no longer as solid as before. When the white tiger arrived in front of him, the little boy was calm and composed. With a shake of his body, he cast the starlight silent step and disappeared from Xiao Yan's sight once again. Hoolalala! The instant the little boy disappeared, the sound of chains soaring into the sky suddenly rang out in this space. In the next moment, thousands of fire lotuses emerged from the space. Each fire lotus surged with a flame. Thousands of fire lotuses appeared at the same time. The flames that gushed out connected with each other and directly sealed this space. Ah! The moment the fire lotus chains appeared, a painful voice was transmitted from one of them. Xiao Yan looked over and saw that the little boy had already appeared not far behind him. When he touched the flame chains that were everywhere, there was nowhere for him to hide as he appeared. Swoosh! A crimson gold flame surged out from a certain fire lotus. The Xiao's figure appeared in the lotus heart of the fire lotus. When it looked at the little boy, it could not help but laugh out loud. It seemed that the little boy was quite satisfied with his masterpiece. Now that we've trapped him, Xiao Yan, shrink the flame chain and we'll be able to catch him. The Xiao's voice was heard. Xiao Yan nodded his head, and without any hesitation, he stretched out his hand and clenched it. The flame chain, which was a few hundred meters long, shook slightly and began to shrink violently. The little boy was trapped in the flame chain. When he saw that the chain was shrinking, a trace of panic flashed across his eyes. He wanted to use his incredible speed to escape, but he was blocked by the flames that were everywhere, and was quickly discovered by the Xiao. After all, the Starlight silent step was just a movement technique, not the monarch skill that could travel through space. Ah! The little boy no longer had the leisurely expression he had before. A wisp of spirit energy suddenly surged into his eyes. In the next moment, his petite body suddenly trembled. Endless starlight surged down and transformed into a slender silver-haired man. The man held a star staff in his hand, his eyes cold. He silently looked at Xiao Yan. Under this kind of gaze, Xiao Yan suddenly felt a shiver run down his spine. He actually felt a chill run down his spine. 0 inches, who are you? Why do you have the Starlight silent step? The silver-haired man stood in the air, the star staff in his hand glowing brightly. He looked down at Xiao Yan, his eyes were filled with indifference. The flaming chains around his body had no effect on him at all. Looking at the silver-haired man who had suddenly appeared, Xiao Yan's heart moved. He tried to release the aura of the star execution. He stared at the silver-haired man and told him about where the 4 academies competition and him had gotten the star execution, as well as how Yuve Mu had possessed Kang Feng. Yuve Mu, HMPH. The silver-haired man quietly listened to Xiao Yan's words. When he heard Yuve Mu's name, he snorted lightly and waved the star staff in his hand. The starlight in the sky seemed to be summoned and quickly gathered. In an instant, a mirror of starlight that was 1,000 feet in size appeared in front of Xiao Yan. Who? With a flash of starlight, a black chi spread out from the mirror of starlight. As the black chi soared, a tall and slender man slowly appeared. The man was dressed in black and had a slender figure. A trace of a bewitching smile hung on his face. His eyes seemed to have a strange magical power, as if he was looking at an underworld, causing people to be unable to help but fall into it. Back then, the Domain Lord didn't hesitate to sacrifice a magical body to seal this guy. Now, he has actually come out again. Those bastards from the Star Moon Island, why are they doing this to the 4 academies competition? The silver-haired man glanced coldly at the black-clothed man in the Starlight realm. With a light tap of his star staff, he shattered the black-clothed man. After which, he gritted his teeth and said, Xiao Yan could only remain silent upon hearing this. He had more or less figured it out by now. This silver-haired man should be the Star Domain Guardian that cultivated the Starlight silent step back then. It's too late to say all of this now. The Guardians of the Star Domain won't be able to deal with Yuve Mu in a short period of time. They can only announce to all the powers in the domain and ask them to pay attention to the Soul Demon. The silver-haired man muttered to himself. A trace of helplessness flashed across his cold eyes. Since you have been bestowed with the punishment star fall by the Domain Lord, I won't make things difficult for you. I'll leave this Starlight silent step to you. It's a pity that with your little strength, even if you successfully cultivate it, you won't be able to display much of your abilities. He turned his gaze to Xiao Yan. The silver-haired man was not smiling, and his calm voice rang in Xiao Yan's ears. Xiao Yan's eyes lit up when he heard this, and then he was delighted. He didn't expect things to go so smoothly. These flames are monarch flames, right? Not bad. Monarch flames also have some suppressive effects on soul demons. Young man, cultivate properly. I hope that you will be able to contribute to the chaos of soul demons in the future. As he spoke, the silver-haired man's figure gradually dissipated, transforming into starlight that filled the sky and merged with the world. Swoosh! The moment the silver-haired man disappeared, endless starlight surged over. The dazzling light made Xiao Yan unable to open his eyes. In the next moment, a star the size of a fingertip appeared in midair, and the endless starlight from before had disappeared. Xiao Yan, quick! This is the essence of an arcane spirit. After absorbing it, you will be able to master this holy arts. Seeing the glow of the stars the size of a fingernail, the Xiao immediately said excitedly. Xiao Yan gently nodded. Without the slightest hesitation, his body suddenly charged forward. With a wave of his hand, he grabbed the starlight in his hand. Kai! The origin chi on his palm surged and completely swallowed the starlight. The starlight quickly merged into Xiao Yan's body at a speed visible to the naked eye. That man just now was really terrifying. He had such powerful strength with just a thought. I'm afraid that his true body is much stronger than that old man. The Xiao muttered to itself as it watched Xiao Yan absorb the energy within the starlight. When it thought of the silver-haired man, it could not help but tremble slightly. Xiao Yan gently nodded his head. Even he felt a tremble from the bottom of his heart the moment the silver-haired man appeared. Even the prestige power spell was useless. The latter's strength had far exceeded his imagination. I just don't know when I will be able to cultivate to the speed of an arcane spirit. After he recovered his senses, Xiao Yan softly said, the speed of the starlight silent step cast by an arcane spirit could almost be described as traveling through space. Even the strength of one's soul could not catch up to it, let alone look at it with their eyes. How can the holy arts be so easy to cultivate? Up until now, your heavenly monarch fire-burning body has yet to reach the level of mastery. If you want to truly master the skill, you need to be at least at the emperor cultivation. The Xiao pouted and said. Xiao Yan could only smile bitterly when he heard this. In the end, it was still because of his lack of strength. Wah! Following a faintly discernible cracking sound, the starlight in Xiao Yan's palm was completely integrated into his body by the former. In an instant, endless thoughts surged into Xiao Yan's mind, and it almost exploded. His vision suddenly turned black. The consciousness that belonged to Xiao Yan in the arcane space also suddenly disappeared. Following Xiao Yan's departure, this endless space suddenly trembled. Soon after, it rumbled and vanished, returning to nothingness. Hiss! In the outside world, Xiao Yan sucked in a breath of cold air. He couldn't help but feel the intense pain in his head. The sudden huge amount of information caused his head to ache, and he felt extremely uncomfortable. This pain slowly weakened after a long while. Xiao Yan shook his head. He could not wait to organize the vast amount of information in his mind. These things were the core content of cultivating the Starlight Silent Step. Huh? After watching for less than the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, Xiao Yan suddenly let out a soft, huh, sound. His eyes were also suddenly opened and his face was filled with disbelief. Xiao, what is the flowing power spell? Flowing power spell? Upon hearing Xiao Yan's question, all kinds of shameless Xiao's appeared. He also quivered and jumped up from the bed. He said in shock, what does this have to do with the flowing power spell? Xiao Yan swallowed his saliva and told the whole story in his mind. The flowing power spell is the origin of all movement techniques in the world. There is no such thing as extreme speed in the world. The Starlight Silent Step uses the power of starlight to temper one's body. After mastering it, if there is fate, then one can see the flowing power spell. The flowing power spell, one of the 8 powers. Upon hearing Xiao Yan's words, the Xiao's face became dull, and it took a long time for him to speak. As expected, although he had already guessed it in his heart, when he heard what the Xiao said, Xiao Yan couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. The prestige power spell was one of the 8 powers, and it wasn't afraid of the aura suppression of most experts. Its unique ability had helped Xiao Yan a lot. As for the flowing power spell, just by looking at its surface, one could tell that it was related to movement techniques. In the ancient times, there was a supreme warrior who cultivated the flowing power spell. With just a thought, he arrived at the divine sky realm from the barbarian domain, and he almost crossed the entire world. Xiao Yan, if you can cultivate it successfully, no one in the entire world can keep up with your speed. As the Xiao spoke, it suddenly became excited. Its eyes were filled with eagerness as it looked at Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan smiled bitterly. He did not consider this matter at all. If his guess was right, the silver-haired man from before did not cultivate the flowing power spell either. "If fate allows it," he said. These 4 words indicated that it was impossible to cultivate the flowing power spell by just cultivating it. Although it can't be compared to the flowing power spell, this Starlight silent step is also a holy arts. You haven't started cultivating the vermilion bird technique yet, so this movement technique can temporarily help you a lot. The Xiao came back to its senses and pretended to analyze the situation. Its small face was full of seriousness. Vermilion bird technique. Hearing this, Xiao let out a slight sigh. Currently, he had only used a portion of the white tiger arts and profound martial arts. In order to cultivate the later moves, he needed the purest blood essence of the 4 spirits. No one knew when he would be able to fully cultivate the 4-spirit emperor technique. Boom! While Xiao was sighing in a low voice, a strange buzzing sound suddenly swept over, causing the former to be stunned for a moment. He had once felt this kind of buzzing sound before. This feeling is the eruption of the monarch flame? Xiao asked in astonishment after he recovered from his shock.